Welcome to the Edtech Throwdown. Join us, Eric Geis and Nick Johnson, as we dive into today's best EdTech tools, tips, and practices. We do the research so you can teach your class. Remember to follow us on social media like Instagram, X, or Facebook by looking for the handle @Edtech Throwdown. Now please enjoy the show.
Welcome to the Edtech Throwdown. This is episode 199 called Edtech Smorgasboard, 8 cool websites for teachers. In this episode, we've collected a grab bag of intriguing websites for educators of all kinds. Will one of these be your next digital rabbit hole? Probably, but there's only one way to find out for sure. Listen in now. This is another episode you don't want to miss. Check it out.
All right, we're in with episode 199. We are getting pretty close to our next mile marker, which kind of snuck up on us a little bit. I feel like just yesterday we were somewhere in the 60s, 160s, and now we're almost at episode 200.
I know. I started keeping a spreadsheet right around episode 160 probably that lists all of our episodes with like their title and the topics, just so we don't like do the same episode twice, because when you've done them this many times, you forget what you've already talked about. So I thought a spreadsheet would be helpful for that. But I remember thinking, I'm starting this spreadsheet at 160. So that means there's 150 whatever episodes that there's no record of other than the podcast feed, which I don't always go through before we record. And I also remember thinking, the spreadsheet is so small. There's only a couple lines filled in, and now it's a sizable spreadsheet with close to like 40 or 50 episodes starting at 160. Point of all that is it's just crazy how many of these things you can get through in a period of time.
Yeah, and we've been pretty consistent with one every 2 weeks, so
right. That's
also pretty cool. It's kind of cool to see how far we've come since... When did we start this thing? 6 years ago, almost?
I don't know. Probably it's got to be more than that.
Maybe 7?
Maybe 7.
Are we coming up on 7?
Either
way, good times here at the EdTech Throwdown, which used to be Got Tech, the podcast. Do you remember when we switched names?
I do, yes. Lots of changes over time. And the name change was... Oh, that's when I did it. That's when I started this spreadsheet, is when we changed names.
So like 40 episodes ago.
Yeah, so I was like, this is a good place to start doing things right. But
see, there is a method to your madness.
Yep.
Just like there's a method to the title that you use the word smorgasbord. Exactly. I know that you've been wanting to get that in there for a long time.
Yep.
And now we have 8 cool websites to talk about. You and I have lists that we contribute to together, and one of them is just cool websites that we find and spend copious amounts of time on when we don't really need to. But if they're cool, we write them down, and once we get a certain amount of these sites or tricks or whatever it may be, we put them into an episode, and that's what we're doing here today.
Yeah, these are my favorite episodes that we do, and it's been a while since we've done one because we've been so focused on like probably AI tools is the main thing, but of course all of our typical summer episodes and end of school, start of school. So it's been a while, but these are the best because these sort of unique, like one-off websites are, to me, always the most interesting thing. They're hard to put together to appeal to a large audience because they can be fairly niche. So we're going to talk about 8 things. Probably 6 or 7 of them will not be usable by you for the subject you teach. However, I think they're all interesting to hear about, and hopefully we've given enough variation here that there will be at least one that you'll say, hey, I could actually use that in my class. Or maybe even, hey, that sounds interesting just to me personally, so I'm going to go check it out. Or it's maybe you just know somebody else that you teach with who you might want to share this with because you think they can use it. Regardless, these things are just the most fascinating to me. Let's wrap up segment 1. We're going to first pause, of course, for a message from the Teach Better Podcast Network. And when we come back, Geis is going to kick it off with our second segment, the official Smorgasboard list.
This podcast is a proud member of the Teach Better Podcast Network. Better today, better tomorrow, and the podcast to get you there. You can find out more at teachbetter.com/podcasts. Now let's get back to the episode.
All right, let's get right into it. I'll get into my first website that I really enjoyed this summer. This past summer, we went into our third or fourth year of Daddy School. Daddy School is when my 3 young children, well, they're not as young as what they used to be, but they're 10, 7, and 6. And we do Daddy School, which is we'll do one type of academic activity a day. I mean, they have a half-day camp that they go to, so they get, some socialization in there. They get some academic stuff there as well, so I don't want to buckle them down, but I try to find something that they'll enjoy. And sometimes they just need a little bit of a break after being outside in the sun all day at camp. So we might do coloring, or we might do something like that. Other times we'll do a science experiment. Sometimes my kids really like math, so they'll do a math worksheet or something like that. And we have some fun with it. And one of the websites that I used this past summer is Kiddo Worksheet. So there's a URL that I hyperlinked to the name Kiddo Worksheet, which will take you to the site. And when you get there, you can basically select from different grades and different topics. Like if you want a worksheet generator, you go there. If you want stuff on the alphabets or numbers or math worksheets, vocabulary worksheets, shapes, coloring, dot to dot, drawing, all this stuff. Body parts, cartoons, stickers, patterns, flashcards, telling time, tracing lines, all this good stuff in there. So you could click on whatever you want, and you could click by grade as well. So if you want to go to, if you scroll down, I'm going to get my fourth grader there, and I could click on it, and it's going to bring up all this stuff. You want to make sure that you don't click on the ads on the side. Like there's a lot of different ads there, but you can also find anything that you want there by category. All right, so I'm going to go down and do sight word worksheets because that's what 2 of my kids need right now. And as you do that, there'll be pre-K sight words, there'll be kindergarten sight words, first, second grade sight words, things like that. And then there's also alphabet worksheets where they have to trace the alphabet. They have some words with that letter of the alphabet. Then they have to pick out capital A's and lowercase a's jumbled in with a whole bunch of letters, and then trace each one of the letters and things like that. So, I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff here. It's free. It's very easy to use. It's basically you find something that you want, you download it, you print it out, whatever you want to do, and it's free.
These are awesome. As the parent of a 4-year-old, these are speaking to me. I mean, there's just so many things. It's all for little kids, which I think you probably said. So there's like alphabet and math, and the math is in categories like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, and counting. So it's all very simple. But for these younger grades, or if you just have little kids, boy, this is awesome. So I'm looking at body parts, patterns is something that I've been working on with my daughter. Flashcards, telling time, tracing lines. She loves this stuff, and my favorite part is they look good. You describe these as they look like they're coming off of like somebody's Canva template. But they're just like relatively high quality. They're all like matching in uniform. So that is an excellent website for anybody that's trying to teach simple concepts to young kids, keeping them busy and keeping them learning. I love it. That's Kiddo Worksheet. The next one we're going to talk about that I'll kick off is, I'll call it Radio Garden. The website officially is radio.garden, and if you're going off of our show notes for episode 199, it's radio.garden/playlist/time travel, and the time travel has a hyphen or a dash in between time and travel. We have featured something like this in the past on the show, but I don't think it was this exact one. Here's how it works. You're going to be taken to a Google Maps style. They might even actually use Google Maps for this, but it's a Google Maps style picture of the globe, planet Earth, and then along planet Earth are all these green dots. And there's tons of them. Like if you're looking at the east coast of the United States, there's got to be hundreds of green dots. You can zoom in to get a more detailed look. And then the way it works is each green dot is a different radio station from that location or from that area. So I just clicked on one now that looks like it's to the east of Lake Erie. It tells me it's WEFX 100.7 FM The Eagle out of Watertown, New York. And the coolest part is you can listen into that. So you can get this like snapshot of what people are listening to around the entire globe. And I don't really care about Watertown, New York, because obviously we are in New Jersey right now and it's not going to be a whole lot different. But it was fascinating to go to like, I don't know, Burma and see what people are listening to there. Or I tried Ireland and I did one in South Africa, because then they're actually different. And it's like a really neat cultural experience that might tie in with whatever it is you are teaching at the time. The really cool part is, and this is where the time travel comes in, you can also select different time periods to scan between. So they have one that's called like, let's see, I think they named it like the oldies or something. But when you click that, you're going to get all the same green dots all spread around the world. There are less of them when you're in these, like, you know, when you go back in time, there's not going to be as many because they're all recorded. And I'm assuming their database is smaller, but you can do the same thing. So I could go to Ireland, but if I'm in this time travel section of the website, I'm listening to what that radio station in Ireland was playing in like 1947 or whatever it is. And they have multiple time periods you can go through. One of them goes as far back as, you know, like the Renaissance. So obviously we're not talking about radio at that point, because I'm fairly sure radios did not exist then. So then it would just be like, you know, recordings of music from that time. So it kind of gets away from the radio piece. But I just think this kind of stuff is fascinating. You know, if you're doing a history lesson, what a fun thing for the students to play with, to engage them in that topic, maybe make that period in time seem more real to them, a little more tangible, because they are listening to something that those people actually listen to. Could be about geography, could be, like I said, some sort of a cultural exchange, you know, depending what kind of lesson you're trying to teach. But that is radio.garden. Check it out in our show notes for easy to find links.
And I'm just going to piggyback on yours. You had the radio. I found one called Tv.garden. So it's very similar, except now you're able to watch channels, and most of them are news channels from other countries, which I think is pretty cool, because one, you could tell the difference in I don't want to say quality, but there is a definite difference. There's a different way that each news station does things. All right. And some of them are very, very cool, and some of them are, it looks like we're stuck in, you know, maybe 1980, and that is a learning lesson. All right, just about what is out there, and, you know, maybe you can make some inferences why one newscast looks different from the other. Is it intentional, or is this something that's based on resources, something along those lines? But what I really like to do is, if I was teaching, I don't know, about people, anything about people, and I wanted to go to Sudan and watch their news, or, you know, there's 2 different news stations that you could check out from Sudan. And then, you know, just ask them to describe, even if they don't understand what they're saying, ask them to describe what's going on and how it's different from, you know, our culture here and the way that we do news. Like, I'm wondering, like, one of the things I'm wondering right now is, in America, most of our news is either really happy news or very sad news. Like
Yep.
Tragic, devastating news. Like, and I would say it's more negative than positive. So is all news like that? That would be my driving question there. And then I would try to get them to, you know, try to investigate that a little bit more. That would be something that I'm interested in. But yeah, TV Garden, go check that one out. Check on Radio Garden. Maybe you can find a unique and fun way to use those 2 resources in your next project.
Yeah, it's so cool. I love that kind of stuff. I haven't tried TV Garden a whole lot besides their main page, but it looks very cool. And it's good to pair those two ones side by side. Let's move on to something for the science people out there. This is called NASA's Solar System Treks. And it is kind of what it sounds like. These are virtual reality treks. The cool part about it is that, of course, because it's NASA, and they always do a great job with everything they put out that's educational. All of these things are virtual reality trips or journeys, but it's all using actual data that has been collected from their ever-growing fleet of spacecraft, as they put it. So the point is, a probe goes out, and loops by whatever, name the comet, or I'm not super good on official terms for things, but I was looking at one called Vesta. I think Vesta's a comet. You can write in and tell me if I got that term wrong, but the point is they've mapped the surface of this object called Vesta. And with NASA Solar System Treks, you can digitally kind of walk around it too, almost like a Google Street View, but for Vesta. And it's very, very cool. They have a bunch of them. When you go to their main page, if you kind of scroll down, there's like a little library there. And I'll just read off some of these now so you can judge from this if it's worth checking out for something you're interested in. They've got Apollo landing sites on the moon. I would want to do that one for sure. They've got possible future landing sites on the moon. Great landscapes of Mars. Here's the Vesta one I was talking about, views of Vesta. They have active geology on Ceres, so that's super cool because it might tie into different physical science lessons that you're doing. And then the last one that they have featured at least is great landforms of Mercury, because I believe Mercury has some of like the largest mountains, of any planet. And it seems like that's what they're featuring there. Super cool. Just going down, they've got Io, which is a moon for somebody, maybe Saturn or Jupiter. Phobos, Ganymede, Venus, Europa, Bennu, which I've never even heard of. You get the idea, right? These are cool because you can do them in your computer browser, right? And there's no signups, there's no anything. This is all like free and open. So I was just clicking around like on my computer screen. But there's also an option where it puts up a QR code that you can scan with your phone, and then it gives you an actual virtual reality view of that same thing. And I don't know a whole lot about VR headsets where the phone kind of clicks in, but I'm fairly sure that they are meant to work with these little, those headset things where the phone gets put in the front of them. And, like as you move your phone around, it actually, like the screen moves. So it's supposed to be, what you would be seeing if your phone was oriented in that way, but you were standing on Vespa. So you can look up, you can look down, and all around, and then walk too. So really, really cool for that VR piece. We got to get some VR headsets in here at some point. That's a whole nother bag of badgers that I'm not ready for necessarily today, but it would be so cool for this type of thing. And they're ready to go, man. All the kids would need is their phone and NASA's website called Solar System Treks. So that's a good one to check out too.
Yeah, speaking of treks, my next one is back into the car. I know that you did you did one with the radio. I'm going to do one called Drive and Listen. So basically, you can pick any of the cities that they have, and I'm telling you, there's a slew of them. You can pick anywhere, and they will give you like a 5-minute ride through the city or the town. All right, right now I am viewing Hiroshima, and it is very cool because once again, I can look at this and I could see what Hiroshima, the city, looks like. All right, and I could see that their trucks and their cars seem to be skinnier over there. I can make all these inferences and things like that, and maybe I need to explain why I think that the cars and everything are skinnier. Maybe that's just the way the camera is, but it's cool because not only can I see the roads, but I can see like how the buildings are built around there and the overpasses and what the speed limit signs look like and the pedestrian walkways and all this good stuff. What can we use this for? I'm thinking STEM classrooms. You can try to come up with maybe areas that have had infrastructure issues, and then you can kind of explain maybe why, but just by looking at some of these treks. So yeah, I'm in Japan right now. It's cool because they're low-lying buildings. Like I'm looking at this, they have billboards on top. So if it's only like 12-story high building, they'll put billboards that are huge that you can read from a distance on top. I found that very interesting. Some of the ways that they enter the highway is very interesting to me. It also shows people that are speeding like what we have here as well. So maybe that's another thing that we can kind of think about. But super cool. Just looking at this, I mean, when I go on vacation, which is once in a blue moon, and we're somewhere outside of the United States, which is once in more than one blue moon, many blue moons away. One of the things I like to do is look at all the signs and take in what everything looks like. And this is something that you could do just watching from your Chromebook or your laptop.
Dude, I wish you didn't tell me about this, because I've been watching one of these the whole time you've been talking. 2 of them, actually. I started in Micronesia, Pohnpei, Micronesia, and now I'm in the port of Spain. It's just fascinating. It's literally like you're looking through the windshield of a car that's driving down the street. And I could do this for hours. Like I could just leave this on and watch to see the cool stuff and how different it is. So here I'm in the port of Spain. The light just turned green. And the car is turning left. No, going straight. I don't know where this guy's going, but it's super cool. And just what a great way to get kids exploring different cultures. I love that one. That's what I'm going to be doing for the next hour after we're done recording.
I've switched over to Moscow, Russia.
That's got to be cool.
And it's at nighttime, and the traffic is absolutely horrendous.
Yeah. So just imagine, like, your students are walking into the room for a lesson about something related to Moscow, and you have one of these driving routes up on the screen. I think that could be very intriguing for kids. You just let them watch for 5 minutes. Ask them to take some notes on what they see, and that starts the discussion. Super cool. Okay. Next up, I stuck this one in last minute because I just remembered it as we were talking, but it's called Gem Stickers. This will be the only, at least I think, the only AI-centric website of the day. This uses Google Gemini in the background to do something unique, which is turn your face or anyone's face into digital stickers. Obviously, as a teacher, this has some immediate applications because kids love stickers. These are not physical, so you would be downloading them as like a little picture file and then saving them somewhere so that you could, say, drag them onto a Google Doc to provide some feedback, or just put them in presentations, like whatever you would do with a digital sticker. What's neat about it is it's your face or your students' faces, which I probably actually wouldn't do, because then you're putting, you're giving Google Gemini pictures of students. So nix that one. But you can have your teacher face in these stickers, so it's going to be funny. You can make light of yourself. And they're in all these different styles, like a pop art style, retro, Japanese matchbox style, cartoon dino, pixel art. My favorite one are the football stickers. Not American football, I mean like soccer football, what the rest of the world calls football, but it makes your face in like trading cards for different types of soccer players, like striker, manager, all these different funny things. I did myself as one of these soccer guys, and it was like my face, but crying. I forget what the theme of this was. They're just super funny. And it takes like seconds to do, and you can just have a whole set of these. You can download all of them at once. You will not find this by going directly to Google Gemini. This has like its own special URL. It's like gemini.google.com/share, and then a bunch of other stuff. But if you just go to Google and search Gem Stickers, you'll find it, or go to our episode 199 show notes and click on Gem Stickers, and you will find it as well. Super fun, easy to do. I think every teacher should know that this is out there.
Yeah, that's a cool one. I made some stickers of my father, and
cool.
I put them all around his room, and it was funny seeing his expression. I don't remember taking that picture. I was like laughing. But right now I'm in Zurich, Switzerland instead of prepping my next one. But I'm going to take some time right now and talk to you about a YouTube trick. This seems to change. I mean, I know that we give YouTube tips and tricks every once in a while, and they always are a little bit different. I know before you could put like a Q before the www period, put a Q there, and that did something. That went away, but this one seems to be around for a little while now. And if you're embedding a YouTube video into any of your slide decks, Canva, Google, PowerPoint, whatever, and you don't want it to start on a commercial, this is a simple way of doing that. Find the URL for that video, and it's going to have the youtube.com/watch _ whatever after it. Right after the word watch, if you put _ pop-up, and then you copy that URL and you embed that into your slide deck, it will, when you click on it to open it up, it won't play with an ad. Right? And I was trying to do that because I'm about ready to do a presentation with a parent group outside of school. And I didn't want ads popping up as I'm trying to do my presentation. So I looked this one up. It seems to work. I've tested it out a bunch of times. So if you're interested in this YouTube trick, go into the show notes, and I described how to do it pretty detailed, so you'll easily be able to do it.
So that'll probably be broken or not work in like 6 months, I'm assuming, because that's how these things go. Maybe longer.
Well, they want people to play the ads.
Right.
Because that's how everyone gets paid. So
the point is, these little tricks, we've shared many of them over time, so this is just like the current one. But there always seems to be like a new way that people get around the ads, so it's always good to share those when we find the most updated one. I know I'm going to be using that because the last time we talked about it, I don't even remember what the trick was, but it no longer works. So I'm glad that this exists again. The next tool, our second to last one, is maybe put this in the life advice column, stuff that can be used by everybody for anything all the time. It's called ifixit.com. It is what it sounds like. This is a sort of like an open source website with step-by-step guides for how to fix like literally anything and everything. I'll list some of their categories: apparel, appliance, camera, cars, computers, electronics. And this is where the teacher side might come in because we deal in a lot of this stuff. And you might need something fixed. Game consoles, households, phones, PCs, the list goes on. You can go here and they have these like repair guides for all of these things written. I love this because I try to save, like the guides for appliances that I buy, but I always lose them or I forget which drawer they're in the bottom of. Don't need to worry about that with ifixit.com because they're all there. And the really cool part is that it also functions as an online store. So if during your time looking at the guide you realize you need to buy something, it'll actually help you buy that exact part that you need so you can order it to then continue the repair afterwards. So very, very neat. I like to try to do this kind of stuff myself whenever I can at home. One, because I'm cheap, and two, I just kind of enjoy it. So this is a very, very cool website to know about. That name again is ifixit.com.
Yeah, that is definitely one of my favorites of today. We'll get into the last one right now. Keep this moving along. It's called whatsmyname.app. And whatsmyname.app is a powerful online investigation tool. And basically, I use this to figure out what I have signed us up for in the past as far as social media. Because social media comes and goes, but you can search your username. Like I have a common username that I use, or whatever the username is for social media that I use. And I just want to see what my digital footprint looks like. I could go to What's My Name app, and I could type in any piece of information, and what it's going to do is it's going to find accounts that you have signed up for, or that username has signed up for. And so if that's something you want to check it out. For me, sometimes I listen to a new podcast and I want to see if they have a website, see what else they have out there, their social media. Well, I can just type them into this app or this website, and then I can go to all those websites and check them out.
Super cool. That's helpful too, maybe for schools that have like, a bunch of different accounts for this club and that club and different organizations centered around it. So there might be a lot of different reasons even educators would need to use that. Very helpful. That also wraps up our list here. We called it 8 cool websites, which now it officially is 8, plus we'll say 1 bonus YouTube trick. And I thought it was awesome. I know I learned some really neat things. I hope all the listeners did as well. So we're going to close it out for $1.99. As always, thank you for listening.
Thanks for listening to the Edtech Throwdown. Do us a couple of favors. Subscribe to our podcast on any major podcast catcher such as Apple, Spotify, Amazon Podcasts, and Stitcher. Go over to YouTube, search the Edtech Throwdown, subscribe to the channel. You can connect with us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. The show's handle is Edtech Throwdown. You can connect with Geis at GeisGotTech, Nick at NickGotTech. You can write us an Apple Podcast review. You could tell your friends about www.edtechthrowdown.com. And lastly, go over and check out our friends over at the Teach Better Podcast Network, a network that we are so proudly involved with. Until next time, remember, go try some EdTech because we will do the research so you can teach your class.